wanted to cover what's called a genogram today. A genogram is a fancy family tree diagram that is full of information that's related to any generational patterns or blessings and burdens that kind of get passed along from your grandparents to your parents to you, from you to your kids, unless you decide to change some things up, create an entirely new culture. Now, I have an example of a genogram here. Ross Geller, a character from the show Friends, and this diagram kind of shows a lot of dynamics about each individual within a larger context. Now, we don't replicate our past exactly, but we tend to live as we're practiced or as we're accustomed to seeing things, because we know what we know, we don't know what we don't know. And some of these patterns that our bodies have observed and absorbed during our growing up process oftentimes gets passed down because that's what we're used to. So kind of as an example, for Ross Geller, the main character for this genogram, we can kind of see that there's a lot of things going on in his family dynamics, from the 3 generations to the grandparents' generation, his parents' generation, his generation with his sister, and also some dynamics with his kids as well. Oftentimes, our present relationships, like with our significant others, our friends, our communities, workplaces, etc., tend to reflect a lot of the dynamics that we've experienced growing up. So if you keep finding yourself in situations where you feel like you're getting singled out or overlooked, or you find that there's kind of this tug-of-war rivalry dynamic between you and someone in your peer group, or feeling like you are caught in pursue-withdraw dynamics between different individuals. Oftentimes, having a bird's eye view of your genogram of what was the norm in your family can help illuminate a lot of those dynamics, so that if there are any generational blessings, things that you feel proud of, your heritage that you want to pass on to the next generation, or any generational burdens that you want things to be different, you want to change it, or you want to kind of have your generation be the last one to experience that and give an entirely new way of being for, your offspring, if you will, then this would be a good way of mapping it all out. Now, just to kind of walk you through what some of these symbols mean, usually I have it here in blue, these are the individual members within a family. The main individual in question for the genogram is kind of double symboled. So you see like the 2 layers of boxes here. The green lines kind of indicate generally positive relationship. The red lines, or this kind of squiggly lines, tend to mean kind of a harsh relationship. Sometimes a relationship is a bit more complicated, so it might have like red and green kind of mixed up. Generally, the level by which individuals are marked, kind of the tier, indicates the particular generation. So here, Ross and Monica are in the same generation, both the biological children of Jack and Judy. Under each individual, I have a couple of word descriptors kind of showing what those individuals are like. So usually when I do this in session with clients, I ask, hey, what are 2 or 3 words you would use to describe so-and-so in your family? Down here, the marriage relationships or partner relationships are indicated kind of as such here. For Ross in particular, we would see that he has been married 3 times to Carol, Emily, and Rachel. But to Carol, that was the first marriage. Carol found out that she is actually a lesbian. They got divorced. She married Susan. But Ross and Carol had a son together named Ben. Ross's second marriage with Emily did not end well, and that one also ended in a divorce. It says married less than a year. And then with Rachel, with whom he has a very complicated relationship, that one ended up in annulment, but then they got married again afterwards, and then they had two biological kids, the first girl, Emma, and the second one, I think she was maybe pregnant with the next child. So you can kind of see that in a lot of ways, Ross kind of experienced a good, positive family dynamic with his parents, probably because he was the golden child and the favorite one. Monica, on the other hand, his sister, had a very conflictual relationship, and so there's kind of a contrast. And that kind of also showed up in the way that he did his relationships with his wives, in that he was very used to doing things his way and had a harder time adjusting to the needs of other people. So all in all, there are some instructions of how to create a genogram. You can check out the comments, allofmecounseling.com/blogs/genogram. It kind of goes through a step-by-step process of how you can make one for yourself. If you ever decide to go into therapy, this will be something good to have handy so that as your therapist gets to know you and your experience, they can have like a quick snapshot of what a lot of your experiences have been. So, hope to see you next time and enjoy.